Guys, I don't think self-management works for teams.
Before we burn you at the stake, at least give us your thoughts, and we'll see what happens.
Well, have you seen self-management break down? I think that's the point. And when it continues to break down, then there ends up being a scar on this idea of self-management. So what happens when there's problems? People sweep in to manage it. That's like a void, you know? There's a problem. You can't just let it go unmanaged.
Well, I mean, let me jump in on this one. So I constantly run into this situation where, oh, we're self-organized, we're self-managing, leave us alone, managers, you're micromanaging us. It's a pain point with a lot of companies that are attempting to use this technique that we call Scrum. But there's more to it. You can't just let a bunch of children have a bunch of power tools and say, build me a house, figure it out. Right? Like they don't know how to use power tools yet. They don't even understand how a house works or things that make them structurally sound. I wouldn't just let them have at it. That looks a bit more like anarchy to me. And so my point is you got to have some boundaries for self-management to work. Like, let's say you just hired yourself, I don't know, 20 people to build that house. You'd hire qualified people, right? You would have some sense of what that house is going to look like, a direction or a vision. You're going to make sure that they understand quality standards in that locality and that, inspectors will be coming by to look at their work. But after that's done, if you're the buyer of these services to build you a home, you're going to go back to your house and sleep at night feeling fairly comfortable. You've got the team in place and you're going to let them self-manage to the expectations that were laid forth. Else you have anarchy. You have no idea when things are going to be done, no idea what this thing is going to look like, no idea how much is going to get spent. And sadly, that's the type of team I run into most frequently. They do not stick to any boundaries or even respect them if they have them at all.
So self-management is not equal to free-for-all.
No, not at all. Never was.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's a really important distinction because I think the idea of self-management, especially to people who are coming from a more strongly managed organizational culture, let's say, will hear that phrase and sound like, yeah, it'd be wonderful if my teams could self-manage. It'd be nice if my laptop spit out puppies and rainbows, but like that's not the world we live in, right? I think boundaries is a really important construct for self-management, a prerequisite, I would even say. Another one is having clarity on our goals, on what we're actually trying to achieve, the outcomes that we're looking for. Because the way I conceptualize self-management, this is sort of outside of my background. I've never served in the military, but I've heard the phrase like self-management is telling the team, the platoon, whatever, take the hill, and they figure out how to take the hill, right? And you're not giving them, okay, you go there and you go there and you do this, and that would be micromanagement or strong, detailed management. But self-management is setting up the goal and saying you figure out how to accomplish it. And self-management doesn't work if we don't have clear shared goals. And now we can talk about self-management in terms of Scrum. It's a key component of Scrum, the Scrum framework working. We have a product goal and a sprint goal in Scrum. And I've seen a lot of teams treat these as, yeah, those are nice to have, or they just kind of pay lip service to it. But I think they miss out on the fact that unless we're really clear on where we're going, and I don't just mean the perfect structured set of words, like the statement that we've worded it well, that can be helpful for clarity. But I mean on a deep level, what are the outcomes we're aiming at? If we don't have clarity on those and we're not all aiming in the same direction, we can't self-manage our way out of a paper bag. So I think I'm talking more about, hey, I don't really care how you accomplish this, but these are the outcomes that are expected, and we're all clear and aligned on what those are. That's required for self-management to work. And that's why a lot of Scrum teams that I work with do themselves a disservice if they're just kind of skipping over or just paying lip service to those goals.
I'm going to take a negative twist and just list the reasons why self-management doesn't work. Organizational sabotage, number one. Doesn't mean that the organizations want to sabotage self-management, but frankly, they don't trust the team, so therefore they will manage anyway. They'll call it self-management, but it doesn't matter. So they're going to keep hitting the override button. AKA, Jason, what are you working on? Why don't you stop that? I know you're self-managing and I trust you, but you're doing this instead. Where's the self-management support there? It's not there. Organizational sabotage looks like distracting teams from their ability to self-manage in its lip service to the idea. So organizational sabotage, number one. Second is internal team sabotage. They're self-managing. They want it. They got all the blessing from the organization to be self-managing. But then in and of themselves, they don't have any accountability to get the job done. So maybe they're not mature enough to be able to self-manage. They don't know how to structure around goals. They don't really appreciate boundaries. They don't understand their accountability, so ownership is lacking. But they want self-management. But is that any different than a group of kids saying, hey, let us play around the railroad tracks? Like, I know you really want to, but that's not a good idea. You don't know the dangers associated with it. You're not prepared for this. Third is that there is a problem with the individuals within the self-managing environment where they don't want to be self-managing. They're told to be, but they don't want it. They don't want to choose what to do next. They don't want to have a goal associated with it. They just want to punch in and punch out. They just want to do the work. They feel accomplished when they spent 8 hours in a chair doing something that the organization feels is important, and that's good enough for them. So you've got the wrong people on the team. So there we go. 3 things why Scrum or self-management doesn't work. At least that's my opinion.
Now, I will say that begs the question, why do we care? Like, why is self-management important? That could be, perhaps we'll tackle that in a future video.